Hi!
We hereby call this meeting of the Fan Ghouls Club to order. I'm Brielle.
And I'm Hayley. And welcome to Book Club. This is sadly our final episode of this series of Book Club anyway. And it's the last episode where we'll be covering the last book of the Throne of Glass series, Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J Maas.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe it.
I know. I think we're still going to do, after this, we're still going through the last chunk. So we're still going to do like a heavy, in-depth ending of the book.
Yes.
But then I think next week, we're just going to do a free-form, free-for-all Throne of Glass chat.
Yeah.
Tying some back into ACOTAR since we now know it's kind of connected. And
yeah, I'm excited. I think next week is going to feel really like cathartic and we'll be able to just like spill so much of what we've like started like tying together between like just this one series alone, but then with ACOTAR and everything. So
yeah, I think it'll be fun to like just kind of
have a regular chat,
go over a very broad topic of all Throne of Glass. I don't know if I remember.
Well, that's the
first
thing.
Couple books at this point.
I know. We might need to like find a summary. And, like,
let me reread the whole series and then we can talk about it.
We could.
What was your fangirl moment of the week?
My fangirl moment of the week might be what your fangirl moment of the week was, because we partook in it together.
Yeah.
And we watched the first 2 episodes of Agatha All Along, the new Marvel show on Disney Plus.
Wow, plug it.
Some people don't know, you know.
Yeah.
Some people might not know what Marvel is. Don't tell Kevin that.
I suppose so.
But anyway.
That's why I wore my Marvel shirt today.
Oh, perfect.
I have a stain on mine too.
Nice. We're just a mess. It fits for this whole thing.
Realize that.
So we watched the first 2 episodes and they were so good.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have a new Marvel thing to fangirl over right now.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, obviously, so far, it's like all these really cool like female characters and they're witches, which is our whole thing. Mm-hmm. It's perfect for spooky season. I mean, we both loved Catherine Hahn in
Parks?
Well, Parks, but also obviously
WandaVision,
which was like your favorite.
It's my favorite Marvel show. Yeah. By far.
Yeah. It's so, I mean, it really like kicked that whole era off like with such a bang. It was so good. Yeah. And I've been excited for more Agatha since then, because it was obviously teased at the end of the season. So,
but it's just so exciting that like, I don't know what it is, but for some reason, like with this show being back too, like everyone is just back into like the heavy theories. Yeah. And just the talking and just like the fangirling over it, which is just so exciting. Because like when WandaVision came out, everyone was just like theories left and right and like what's going to happen. Because like the whole show concept was brand new. Mm-hmm. So obviously that was exciting in general, but it was this first like almost feeling of a spin-off where it wasn't, yes, it's all connected to the whole universe, but it's not like directly impacting these like main storyline movies. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was exciting to see like, oh, they can like take other like different routes, like take some different chances with these types of things. So I just feel like back with this show now, they're like back with that of this especially, it's like very heavy side characters even in the comics. They don't really have too much lore behind them, so
it's a fun opportunity to expand like and with their own creative
and for it
ideas.
To be spooky and come out perfectly like in October is going to be so cool, and they're finishing it right before Halloween too. So I think it's super
funny, and I mean they just have the coolest cast.
And the song, everyone's like obsessed with it again already.
It's
amazing. I love it. It's just the Lopez's, dude. Yeah. They kill it every time.
So good.
Yeah, that was mine too.
Do you have anything else?
That I fangirled?
No, I can't even remember what happened this week.
Well, we also watched Big Brother.
Oh, yeah.
and they had a scene. This is very niche.
You sent this to me this morning and I watched it like 3 times. I cackled just as hard as I did when we watched it.
I don't know. For anyone who even watched Big Brother, it's just so niche. There's a specific scene that they had like this little robot character and they like killed him off and it was like hysterically sad. And
they had like an in memoriam like tribute to this little robot who only lasted like 2 episodes. Little AI robot thing.
Oh my god, he was so cute.
Janky.
He just wanted friends.
That is like top tier reality editing. That was.
Yeah, the editors this season are just
killing it.
A whole other tier.
Anyway,
I'm obsessed.
So
but I did have a question for you.
Okay, cool. I have one for you too.
I figured you would, but I wanted to beat you to it.
Yes.
I know in any other retrospect you would have wanted to sit down and think about this so hard.
Hit me.
But I wanted to throw it at you because I wanted to see what's like first on your mind, what would pop up.
Okay.
Because as we wrapped up this story, they really touched on it again at the very last few chapters of how important just that like this is such like a women's story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when she walks out of the gates for the first time after being crowned and she was like, wait, I need all my ladies with me. It made me think we should talk about this question real quick.
Okay.
Of growing up, who are the like top 3? Who are the very first female characters that you remember ever like hardcore fangirling over?
Okay. Lorelai Gilmore.
Okay.
Is number 1. It was always Lorelai. For sure. Okay, hold on. And then I'm trying to think of like just the broad range of shows that I watched.
So I was like,
and movies.
Like,
and
what is like the first ones you just remember of like?
Oh,
like cartoons.
Honestly,
or,
like the. Can I say like all the Powerpuff Girls?
That's such a good one.
And oh my god, I'm gonna like. You're right. Later on, I'm going to be like, oh, I should have said this.
I know. You're going to text me at like 1 a.m.
Yep.
Because you like woke up.
You know who's a good one, actually, is Mia Thermopolis from The Princess Diaries.
That's sweet.
Because my godfather showed me that movie for the first time, and he was like obsessed with it. And so I watched it with him, and then I went on to read the book series by Meg Cabot.
Oh, I never read them.
Oh, and there were like 15 books.
Yeah.
So many. And then I read all of Meg Cabot's books, including one that I would be interested in rereading again about like a girl who falls in love with a ghost.
We should do it. Oh,
it's
like Casper?
Anyone out there watching this who remembers the Mediator series, oh my god, I could cry. Like, now, this is such a side tangent, but the Mediator series by Meg Cabot had such a hold on me. I have, even reading this, I don't think I have cried as hard reading like the last book of a series as I did with the Mediator series. Wow. I remember sitting in my living room chair. Everyone had gone to bed, and I was just like heaving, like sobbing. I don't even remember what happened. How fun would that be if we picked a series from like our childhood and reread that?
Who did I always say? I can't. Along for the Ride, Sarah Desson. But you also read a lot of Sarah Desson.
Yeah, but
you don't remember at all.
It's like I've blocked them from my memory, whatever I read by her. But I just remember her being
so
super popular.
Teen, young adult. Mm-hmm. I wonder how that would go. That's so funny.
Ooh,
but they're so short, we could like read through them so quick.
Easily, yeah.
That'd be
the
cute.
Mediator books are small, but so I will buy them. What are yours?
I'm blanking on my third one now all of a sudden. But Kimberly.
Kim Possible?
No. From the Power Rangers.
Oh, yeah.
Kimberly was like my first all-time because my older... No, I don't really watch Kim Possible too much. No, I have 2 older brothers and they were obsessed with Power Rangers. Yes. So then I was obsessed with Power Rangers.
And the pink Power Ranger.
Yeah, Kimberly was absolutely everything to me.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a Kimberly, someone dressed up as her at a party, I guess, at one point.
Yeah.
I was very little and it was like the first time I like saw her. And my mom said I just stood there and like sobbed. I just like cried. I like couldn't say hi to her and I just like stood there and cried.
Love.
I was starstruck. And then the other one was, did you ever watch Xena, the Princess Warrior?
No.
Really?
I watched Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century.
No.
Okay.
Xena.
No, I never watched Xena.
The actress played Ron Swanson's wife in Parks and Rec. Later
Which
on.
one? Oh.
Like,
yeah.
the actual
Okay.
good relationship.
Okay, yeah.
Not Tammy 1 or 2. And I'm totally blanking on what I thought of earlier.
Okay, I'm going to go back because you've had a little bit of time to think about it. So I'm sorry, but I am going to swap out. I have my final 3.
Okay.
It's definitely Lorelai Gilmore.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely Lizzie McGuire.
Mm-hmm.
And, sorry, Powerpuff Girls, but it's definitely Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Like the live action Melissa Joan Hart, 1,000,000% locked in. I had to get home every single day and turn on Sabrina immediately.
Okay, that's fine, because as of right now, I can't think of my third one. I can take Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, there you
go.
go.
That was definitely one of mine.
Yeah.
I was just watching it the other day.
So good. I wish they had done their live action.
I don't.
But I wish they had done the live action with the Riverdale girlies.
With the Riverdale girl. Yeah, that would have been fantastic.
Oh my God. I love that question.
Oh my God, I love that question.
That was so fun. Memory lane. Next, catch me tomorrow. I'm going to text you a list.
Yeah. Here's my top 10.
My rapid fire question for you.
Okay.
Hunger Games or Twilight?
What about them?
If you had to erase your memory and only read one, you could only read one.
Read Hunger Games.
Interesting. Okay. And movies?
Now. I don't
hard.
know.
Not for me, but you, I mean, to be fair, you actually read The Hunger Games, like, as they came out. I did not. I only watched those movies.
Yeah. And you only watched them pretty recently, too.
Mm-hmm. I was just so, like, I had no time. I was so in the Twilight.
I had no time. I was busy.
I was in Forks.
That's too hard.
Okay.
It's all about, like, the mood.
I get it.
Because it's the same difference of ACOTAR and Throne of Glass.
No, yeah, because they're...
ACOTAR is romance with the fantasy in it, which is Twilight.
Yeah.
And Throne of Glass is action.
It's a good comparison.
With a sprinkle of romance, and that's Hunger Games.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Wow.
That was fun.
Do you want to jump in?
Yes. I'm not ready.
I know. I'm very sad.
So we'll be discussing chapters 112 through A Better World.
Better World. Where did we leave off?
Maeve says, I know your secret, Heir of Fire.
She said the thing.
She said the name of one of the books. Okay.
Chapter 12. 112. Episode 12.
Episode 112.
Episode 12. Chapter 112. Page 892.
Paragraph 1.
Paragraph 1. So, Irene sends out another blast of power. And we learn that this is what drew Erwan away.
Mm-hmm. From his little convo.
Yeah, like his little chit chat. He was like, hold on, BRB. Let me fly away real quick.
I pictured he just like falls into the arms of an Ilkin and then carries him away.
I like really wish he just like snapped for them or like had a little bell.
Yeah.
She sends out another flare of power, challenging the Dark King. And as he lands, the Ilkin picks him up, so he's flying over, just like dangling his feet.
Yep.
He lands. I think she was like on one of the battlement like walls of the walls of the city. And so he lands and he's like deadly smirking at her. And all the people that are relatively near them start screaming and running away. And it says he was not death incarnate, but something far worse. Where else have we heard death incarnate before?
I wonder.
ACOTAR. Then we jump back over to Aelin POV, and she is starting to cramp up she's starting to really feel it. She's hurting a little bit. And Maeve is almost like disappointed that Aelin lost all her powers, because she was like, you ruined like this promised epic battle that I was supposed to have. Like, what the hell? But she said, now you're nothing but an assassin with a crown. So Maeve is hitting and hitting her with her dark power, and she finally gets her grasp on her and puts her in an illusion. So Aelin is a little freaked out, because the illusion is jumping her right back to when she first got taken by Maeve, and right before all her like torturing started. So she starts noticing it feels identical. So she's almost like tripping out, thinking like, wait, have I actually been here the whole time? I never left. Has all of this been a dream? Like, wait, what's going on? She sees the iron coffin around her, the chains around her, and then Karn shows up, and she is freaking out. But she starts to try and remind herself. She reminds herself of Nehemia, and that, you know, Nehemia had quite the large burden laid upon her as well, and she also wished that it wasn't true, but that didn't make her weak.
Yeah.
So she's trying to remind herself of that, remind herself of Nehemia and her friend. And she also remembers that Erebin had not broken her, and neither did Endovier. So she would not let this waste of existence do so now.
That's right.
So Karn and the chains start fading away. And then Maeve is like, wait, what are you doing? What's going on? How did you not break? And Aelin said, because I am not afraid.
Aww.
And she said, you hurt my mate.
You just like when Dorian says, you hurt my friend.
You hurt my friends. So then Aelin breaks out of this illusion, and she starts attacking Maeve, and she's gaining on her until she sees Alide appear out of nowhere to the side of her. And she's like, Alide, what the fuck are you doing? What's going on? And so Aelin goes to leap for her to protect her, because it looks like Maeve's about to attack her. And then she realizes that this is also an illusion.
Yeah.
And then the darkness starts kind of like going around her neck. And she's choking a little bit. And so Maeve is trying to hold her down and get her to once again swear the blood oath to her.
Let it go.
Right? Then suddenly Rowan, Fenris, and Lorcan appear behind Aelin, her boys. But lost within his anger and his fury, Fenris attacks Maeve like instantly without wasting a second. And she slices the shit out of his face. So he's like, has these 2 or 3 like huge scars down his face now, and he's bleeding. Oh, he did all that in wolf form too.
Yeah.
At first. So then now that he's like laying on the ground kind of bleeding from his face, he turns back into Fae form, and Rowan goes to attack, but then all 3 males start screaming and kind of like freeze where they're at. And we learn that Maeve has all 3 of them now in their own illusions.
Yeah, she's entrapped them all mentally. Ugh, I hate Maeve and her like glamours / illusions and stuff. It's so scary.
I know.
Yeah, when she says wake up, I really was like questioning it myself here, and I was like, oh, I know
that's not about to happen.
This isn't happening. But like it did seem so real. Like wake up, and she's woken up, and she and Maeve's like, we're here, as if, because we never saw that, right? Like when they first got back to Doranel, or to Doranel,
whenever they got off the boat, and
whenever she first took her. And so I was like, I swear to God, it couldn't be. And of course, it's not. But could you imagine?
I know.
That was so freaky. And then I thought it was, I definitely cried when she was referencing Nehemia, and like when she first gave her name, Elentia, the spirit could not be broken. And we hadn't heard this in such a long time.
Yeah.
You know, when Aelin thinks of her mother and like calling her Fireheart, and now it's like Nehemia is with her and like helping her through this. just nice to like reference her again and see her.
She's there.
I like the beginning of this chapter because again, it's like that Irene's name is never said. It's like that one chapter that I really liked when it's like describing the two queens and their perspectives on the battle. And now it's like the same thing, like Irene, it just says like the healer like glowed bright white, and like again it just makes me feel like this is what's going to be written in the history books, and it's like it's just so cool. I love it.
In the history,
I love
this
that
is history.
it's like they don't even have to say, like their names don't even need to be said to know who they are. It's like just so cool. I love that.
Yeah, that's why like all of their descriptors are so important.
Yeah,
because there's certain points like that when she describes them, she doesn't even say their name, but it'll just say sapphire eyes.
Yes, exactly.
Or golden hair, and you're like, oh, I know who that is.
So the Maeve fight continues.
You know,
I was surprised to see all of them go down pretty quickly.
And if she grasped them all in 2 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go to chapter 113 then.
Yeah.
We jump back to Irene's point of view. Erwan has now gotten to the top of this tower where Irene is. He's approaching Irene all confident like, and he's just like, I've actually been waiting to meet you, and Maeve wanted to destroy you, but that wasn't my plan all along. You are a death maiden. You're capable of unhealing, unbinding the very fabric of life, of worlds. So he wants to basically use her. He quickly learns that this is actually not Irene. It is Dorian, who has shifted into Irene. And my first note for this set of chapters is LOL at me forgetting Dorian can shift.
I know.
Because I was like, because I'm thinking, it's Lysandra. And I was like, I forgot Dorian was helping them, and he can obviously shift. And a word mark has been drawn. So now Erwan is trapped in this circle of word marks, and it's a trapping spell, so he can't get out. So he's stuck, and we now have Irene, Dorian, and Lysandra, who's flown in on Ruck form, and they're all surrounding him. And Lysandra is like holding Erwan down, and Irene basically gets right to work. And she's like glowing this insanely bright white light, and she just like gives it all to Erwan. And she's got her motivation behind her for Kale, for a better world, for her baby, and there's like this amazing moment where she references, she's thinking about her mother, and also like the fact that she and Aelin met in this one corner of the world and have now, like, it's just this look how far we've come sort of moment. So she is giving all of her power to kill Erwan basically, and just when she's starting to sort of like falter, Dorian lends her, he grasps onto her and lends her his magic, and so he helps her defeat this demon king. And Erwan's trying to get out of this, and Dorian has this moment where he's like, hold on, I don't want to kill him just yet because I want to know what my father's name was. So Dorian like halts this whole thing, and he's like, tell me his name.
Yeah, Irene was like, Irene, do that
like,
right now.
Excuse me, Dorian, this wasn't a part of the plan.
We're trying to kill him.
Dorian's like dead set on learning his father's real name, and it turns out that his father's name was Dorian. And Erwan says the only time his father kind of came out of his possession, or this dark spell, was when Dorian was born, and hence he gave his son his own name because he remembered it in that moment, and he gave it to Dorian.
It was his final defiance against Erwan.
Yep. So he kind of gets what he needs, nods to Irene, and they're like, let's finish this. And they do. Irene sees what lies beneath all of Erwan's, like, his outer persona, and it's disgusting and gross, and they're like, ew, let's get rid of it.
I could only picture
what?
The creepy baby Voldemort.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
In Harry Potter, when him and Dumbledore are like in that like dream state, like train station, and they see the baby like naked creepy Voldemort like under the bench.
Ew.
That's what I think Erwan actually looks like.
That's a good That's a good one. Again, we draw this connection to Elide's mother and Irene's mother and how they saved their daughters so that they could, or how Elide's mother saved Aelin so that they could be here today to start a better world. And so finally, they defeat Erewhon completely. His ashes are literally blown to the wind. He fades into nothing. And he's done, I guess. It was kind of like, not that I would say it was easy, but it kind of felt, I was left thinking, like, what did Erewhon, I mean, Erewhon drew this entire army, right? Like, he raised this army. Mm-hmm. But I guess I was always wondering, like, what can he do specifically?
I was going to say, we never got a single moment to ever see his power.
Which is kind of cool, because if you think of it in terms of, like, this is a woman's story. Like, this is a heroine's story, that even the villains, like Maeve, we have seen has a lot of power, and we've gotten a lot of glimpses of her power. And I think it's kind of funny that Erewhon just, like, doesn't actually have, like, and he's just, like, gathered all these lackeys along the way, and, like, this,
so it just
raised
that,
this
like,
army.
Men start wars.
Yeah, and I love that. I think so, honestly.
And he didn't even, like, necessarily do anything. He just raised an army.
I think so.
And then when it came to the end and the big battle, he, again, didn't really even do anything.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of great. Right? Because, yeah, I think it was always, especially when Erewhon and Maeve came together, it was always going to be like,
Maeve is joining him. Like,
yeah, what is this going to look like?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of crazy that he immediately just got shreked.
Yeah. Did Dorian cut both their hands, right? And then because their blood, like when they grabbed hands to do the magic, that's how, like, the magic flows between them. I thought that only happened when you're Karanam.
Yeah, she didn't feel the sting of her palm cutting open, barely felt the pressure of the calloused hand that linked with hers.
So anyone that has magic can do that?
I suppose. I hate when you ask me these questions because I don't know the actual, I mean, I just know that in this moment
they did it.
They did it.
Okay, never mind. But I was thinking, wouldn't it be sweet if Irene and Dorian were Karanam?
Yeah, I think so. That would be sweet.
He always wanted a sister.
That's exactly right. And you know, this is the note that I tried to make in my car this morning.
Oh, you remember?
Yeah. How special is it that he gets to be the one to help Irene do this? Irene, who reminds him so much of Sorsha. Mm-hmm. And Sorsha, who was the one who really helped him, like, first discover his power. Yeah. And really try to help him learn about it. And it's just like a total, like, full circle moment of I just thought about where he started and how much Sorsha meant to him and his immediate connection with Irene and the fact that he actually gets to use his power to help this healer defeat Erewhon.
I know.
Anyways,
I liked, though, that when Lysandra lands after being Wyvern, she drops in Irene, who's already, like, glowing.
Yeah.
Like, she dropped the healer bomb. That's when Dorian shifts back into himself. And then Irene starts running at Erewhon.
Yeah.
And that's when Elide bursts out of a door.
Yeah.
Lysandra.
Oh, how could I forget this?
Lysandra shifts into her handy dandy good old ghost leopard form. She pounces on Erewhon to, like, hold him down, but Elide
is the one that stabs him.
Yeah, she, like, stabs him and pins him down with Damaris.
Yeah.
So I was, like, really proud of Elaine.
Well, that's funny you say that because that's the note that I made.
It seems very Elaine moment. Yeah.
It's giving Elaine stabbing Hybern.
Yeah. Proud of her for, like, doing something violent.
It must have felt great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked this chapter. I liked this grouping.
Interesting grouping, yeah. Lysandra, Elide, Irene, and Dorian.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What? Those four are all four important people at four different points of Aylin's life. So Alide was like growing up, and that's home and
Yes.
Terracin. And then Irene was in Assassin's Blade and everything before Throne of Glass starts.
Yeah.
And then Dorian, obviously, is
Beginning.
so
of all
important
this.
for multiple ways. And then, well, I guess Lysandre's Assassin's Blade, too.
Yeah, but Lysandra really, when they really become friends,
That's true.
is when, I would agree with that. That's great.
That's just an interesting grouping, yeah. Because
Mhm.
none of them have anything together, specifically.
Mhm.
Back when Aylin taught her whole crew all the word marks, and like Alide was really excited about it all, and she like really studied hard. So I think she's the one that like, obviously she's the one that enacted this whole plan. But,
Yeah.
so it came in handy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
See, she doesn't have to have power.
I know, it never
None of them have to have power.
It never happened.
Kale, we never rap on Kale for not having power.
Chapter 114. Aylin was dead.
And then we get this.
She's dead. We slowly learn that this is Rowan's illusion.
Mm-hmm.
And not only is Maeve's illusion scary because she can clearly make you believe whatever, but she also does it in terms of like torture, of making you see. So she can somehow, she knows what everyone's worst.
Fear. And
Yeah. Which makes it all 10 times worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, we go into a series of seeing these three males' worst fears coming true. Torture.
I know.
So yes, we realize this is Rowan's bad illusion nightmare, and he sees Aylin dead. Her lifeless body had been spiked to the gates of Orinth. It's terrible. Anyway, so then a familiar voice shows up saying, "You brought this upon yourself, you know." And he sees Lyria.
Hi.
And she's kind of like, "You deserve this. Would you still pick her over me?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the type of male that you are?" All of this. So he can't even find any words. He's just distraught that she's dead.
Yeah, kind of a crazy one.
Yeah. Then we jump over to the next illusion is Connell smirking and saying, "Everything that happened to me is your fault." And Fenris was stuck in his wolf form, so he can't say anything. Like, he can't speak and he can't apologize. He can't say no, like, it's not my fault, blah, 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 blah. So that's basically his. "I'm dead because of you. I'll never forget it." He wants to say please, please, no, but he can't. So we jump back over to Aylin, and she is just like watching the three of them kind of suffer, and she can't really handle it. Maeve is this is Maeve's next way of trying to get Aylin to swear the blood oath. God. She was saying, "I'll stop if you offer over yourself and take the blood oath." We jump over to Lorcan's bad illusion. Is Alide standing there saying, "You're nothing. How could I love you? I'll never love you. You're nothing to me, blah, 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 blah." And this is when, again, we get another bomb of this Fey male being like, "But I think you're my mate."
Mm-hmm.
So was
I
it last?
think you might be my mate.
I think it was last chunk or the one before when Adian said the same thing.
Yeah.
Of like, I think you're my mate.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know.
It is a thing.
Yeah.
I did the research.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm. And that's why they're so rare to come about. At least in the ACOTAR world. Because there are so few interactions between Fae and humans. Like, there can be a mating bond between a Fae and a human. They just never learn about them because
they don't
Fae
interact.
and humans don't interact.
I feel like most of the ones we've seen is between a Fae and a human.
Yep.
At least at first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we get that bomb dropped there.
Lorcan!
And then back to Aylin and Maeve again. And that's when Maeve drops the bomb to Aylin that Gavriel died.
Yep.
So she's just trying to tease her, and she throws this at her. So Aylin's like,
much.
"What the actual hell?" And then Fenris is screaming again. So Aylin tries to throw Goldrin at Maeve to distract her. And she laughed because she kind of missed. And Maeve was like, "Haha, you didn't get me." But she just did it to distract Maeve really quickly, because then she shot fire at Rowan, Fenris, and Lorcan and like burned their shoulders, branding them
to
it
like
said.
jolt them back to reality.
At first I was like, wait, why are you hurting them? What the hell? So Maeve kind of laughs and she was like, what, are you trying to kill them to put them out of their misery? It's not going to work. We jump back to Rowan again, and this is when he's still like, Aylin's dead. Oh my God. But then his shoulder starts to hurt, and he realizes it's just an anchor to try to pull him out of the illusion. We jump over to Lorcan's shoulder is hurting, but then Maeve shows him aged Allied on her,
I can't with this.
on her deathbed, and showing that Lorcan remained young. And this ended up having the opposite effect on him than Maeve thought it would, because he ends up seeing the potential of like the future and what it could hold and how important and special it could be, rather than he always thought in his mind his worst fear would be her growing old and dying on him, and he's just young forever. And he realized that, you know, the future might be great, and it did not frighten him.
Yeah.
We jump over to Fenris, who is still on repeat, and he's just watching Connell die over and over and over again. And he's just thinking he deserves it, and he hoped it destroyed him. So Aylin, while watching all of these men now scream because their shoulders are hurting too, she discreetly tries to cut her hand. And then she notices that Rowan now is still pretending to be under his illusion and cuts his hand on his hatchet too. And she says some quippy thing to Maeve of like, I may not have magic, but my mate does. And they they clasp hands, and then Aylin gets like so excited about it that she like puts crowns of flame above both their heads.
She loves doing this.
I know. And he says, Rowan doesn't have the brute power you once did. But Lorcan says, but perhaps he doesn't. But together we do.
Yay!
And Aylin then drops the bomb of saying, but I think they have plenty. And a lot of light starts to flare, and then word mark portals start opening up everywhere. And this, like we talked about, this is when I got a little bit lost.
Yeah.
It took me a second. Because at this point, I have a question.
Yeah.
I guess you hate my questions.
What?
It says, the word mark portal appeared precisely where Aylin intended it to go, where she glimpsed tumbling back through the word gate, where her and Rowan ventured days ago, testing this exact portal. When the fuck did they have time to venture somewhere to find a portal? When wasn't the whole point they were like running out of time to get to Orinth in the first place?
I mean, it would have been when the Lord of the North appeared with the little folk, and that's when
they went on a side quest.
Aylin and Rowan that's when they were like, this is going to be our last hurrah. And I think it might have been mentioned that it would take a day or so to get everything together to make that specific trek.
Oh.
So that might have been when they did it.
They did say that?
I think so.
Oh.
I might be making that up, but also, I mean, it's just a matter of not that it's easy, but I think they could have just made it wherever they were standing. So that's what it was, I guess. Just testing the word mark portal opening.
Gotcha. But yeah, I guess this is like something she saw when she tumbled back and was like seeing all the worlds and everything. So I guess that's where she saw it, and no one's like seen them since. So that's how she found them. Yep. Anyway, so through all of these portals, you just see a mass of people with a bunch of armor and weapons and lots of large wolves.
Yay!
So we come to learn that it is all of the Fae that escaped Terrasin 10 years ago before magic fell. And they have come to live with the wolf tribes. As Rowan and the cadre were fighting in the battle when they first all arrived at Orinth, they were all drawing word marks on the ground in their blood as they were getting like stabbed and hit. They would then draw some word marks with their blood on the ground. Anyway, so apparently all of these Fae have lots of beef with Maeve, and specifically the spiders, because those are who drove them all out of Terracin like 10 plus years ago. So they're all mad and are ready to fight Maeve and the spiders.
Yay!
So Aelin signaled them with fire, and they all ran to attack. Fenris is still on the ground, and Aelin tries to reach him and kind of like talk to him mentally through the blood oath bond. And so they start doing their blinking thing, and she's trying to like blink at him.
I'm here.
She's like, hello, are you there? So then Aelin and Rowan start fighting Maeve with their now combined power fire situation, and Lorcan's helping too. And again with more quips of like, Maeve says, you really think you're gonna defeat me? Looking at Rowan, you who I've wronged the most. And Aelin goes, I don't think you've wronged us the most, but I think he has like a lot of beef. However she words it. As she looks over to Fenris, and he winnows again.
Yay!
And he winnows over to Maeve, and he takes Goldrin, stabs her through the back and through her heart.
Woot.
And then she falls over.
It's pretty exciting. I mean, kind of tough that they're really only on the defensive for a while here. But fun that they all get to use their, like, cunning a little bit more to ultimately defeat her. Because I've been thinking about it and, thinking, why did this feel not anticlimactic, but I
guess I was surprised to see them defeated one right after the other.
I think that is it. And also, I had enough of the the illusion torture. Like, we've had so much of that that I thought, like, using that on the cadre was a little bit like, okay, like,
it was sad to see like each of their like worst fears though.
Totally. Yeah, because I guess, yeah, you're right, maybe we've only really seen that with Aelin. But I was very glad, mostly glad, that Fenris got the first blow. Like the first fatal blow, I guess.
Yeah.
Again, Aelin just giving the
kill,
giving the opportunity to the person she thinks deserves it the most.
I'm gonna say, ultimately, I'm happy Aelin didn't kill either of them. Rather than her just having crazy fire powers and she just kills both of them.
Yeah, I guess that's what we thought was going to happen. Was she and Dorian were going to have these powers they have been training with for since the beginning.
Yeah. And all their friends help them.
And everyone helps them, which is important. Like, it's just that hero's journey of, like, learning to trust your friends. It's good.
And that, like, they're not the only ones that have beef with them, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
some other people might have even more.
Yeah.
And, like, they deserve that kill more.
Exactly. Love it.
I just like that Fenris winnowed again.
Yay, Fenris.
Or teleported, whatever we call it.
I'm just going to call it winnowing.
I know. Doesn't necessarily explain why it disappeared or how he got it back, but
nope.
At this point, I was just like, oh, there it is. Okay, great. But I was happy for him.
Yeah, it's a purpose, maybe. Maybe. Chapter 115.
Yay.
So we're still... This is the aftermath of Fenris stabbing Maeve through the back with Damaris, and her dark blood is leaking out everywhere, and she's, like, screaming at them to take it out. She'll do anything. I'll do anything you say. And she said, you can banish me wherever you want to banish me. Just please take it out. Like, she just wants to survive this. And it's like, okay.
I was kind of excited.
I know. It was kind of, I know. Because I
thought it was going to go with my theory.
Was going to be
that
like, she gets to survive. And
I got real excited here.
It was almost coming true, where I'm thinking, and it would be so Aelin, who has killed a lot of people, but, like, you know, I think she does consider these options. And if she could, she would. If she knew she could banish Maeve without it wreaking havoc in another world, then sure. But yeah, so we're led to believe, like, oh, maybe she will banish her somewhere else, and maybe we'll see her again in another series, perhaps. And so, but really at this point, Aelin's just taunting her, and she said, basically is like, okay, well, because Maeve is like, you can banish me anywhere, put me anywhere. And Aylin's just like, okay, well, you can go to hell. And then she takes is it Damaris? She takes Silba's ring.
Oh.
She first takes Silba's ring and puts it on Maeve's finger. And she's just screaming because it has an adverse reaction to her, obviously, as Valg. And it's poison to her. And
I forgot this ring was the whole drama back in...
Yeah. Queen of Shadows?
When did...
Or Heir of Fire.
When did Rowan take the blood oath?
End of Heir of Fire. It was because... Right?
Yeah.
Because end of Heir of Fire is when they face Maeve and she wants the
ring.
Mm-hmm.
Because we learn now Maeve's Valg and a whole thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it was not until that exact moment I was like, oh yeah.
So this ring is poisoning her. She's clawing at herself because now she's turning into the creature that she truly is. Like her pale skin is like shedding and dissolving. Aylin's kind of allowing this to happen for a while, and then she grabs Goldrin and she ends up beheading her. But not before she says, we'll pretend my last words to you were something worthy of a song. She beheads her. Lorcan goes, burn her! And they do.
It's a lot like Twilight.
It really is. It really is. So they defeat Maeve, and then they turn, and all the soldiers have begun to just like drop. And we learn, and we already know, that this is because Irene and co have been successful in defeating Erewhon. And it's just such a nice moment at the end of the chapter where the cadre and Aelin have this little success of defeating, this big success of defeating Maeve, but also shouts are ringing out and everyone is yelling Irene's name because she's the hero.
Irene.
That is the end of the conflict of the
Throne of
series.
Glass.
That's like the end. Yeah, the ending of the big, seemingly never-ending threat to everyone's livelihood and safety and world since the very beginning.
That's why I feel like maybe the Erewhon deaths almost seems anticlimactic, because for so many books we didn't even know what the threat was.
I know, right?
We just thought Dorian's dad was kind of a dick.
Yeah. In like a conniving Game of Thronesy kind of way.
Mm-hmm. We just like didn't know what.
He was a mystery, and that's always scarier.
Yeah.
It would have been cool to see, love it if he just simply didn't have the power.
Any power?
People may have thought he did.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic.
We didn't see any example of Erewhon's power.
Also, we never saw him. We're at the end of, or the beginning of this book, we were always so nervous because
where is he?
What is he? What's his plan? What is he going to do? And he
He
shows
just,
up
like-
and he goes, oh, a bright light. And he goes with his Ilkin. He goes, oh, the light. Goes to the light and then just gets totally annihilated.
Yeah, it was a great plan.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it worked so well. But like, they really just killed him in 2 seconds. Like, he was not a hard one to murder.
I think it's the power of him underestimating him, maybe thinking
The power of friendship.
it could only be Aelin that was his only threat, and he really didn't.
We forgot to talk about what he wanted Irene for. He mentioned in his world there are healers.
Yeah.
And that's how they created the word keys in the first place.
Yes. Yeah.
And he wanted Irene, he said, with a bunch of those like powerful healers in their world, they broke up the word gate in the first place and separated them into keys.
Right.
And he was like, I've been looking for you because I think you're strong enough to like do it on your own.
Right.
But it was just interesting that that's what we learned the word keys and the gate and everything was.
Right.
To begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my theory is not going to happen.
Yeah,
can we shoot back to last week when I was like, I really hope Maeve lives.
So convinced. Listen, it could be like a multiverse situation where there's another version of Maeve out there. Maybe Maybe the other Val kings have wives, and who knows? There are two. I mean, there maybe are two other kings for a reason. You know what I mean?
Well, Maeve was married to the other one.
Yeah. Maybe he somehow still likes her and is gonna seek vengeance.
Brings her back to life.
Could be.
New theory.
Who knows?
Alrighty.
Okay, so
they
now
did it.
they did it.
And it's all done.
And basically, now we just head into merriment and aftermath and rebuilding.
Lots of aftermath and lots of wrap up.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of characters to wrap up.
And lots of random switch ups in the POVs.
Mm-hmm. How do we wrap up this war? Wrap up everyone's story? Make sure everyone's like bows are tied, and then everyone says goodbye, and then we also give a little inkling onto what everyone's about to do. It was just like a lot of jumping all over the place.
Yeah.
But 116 is jumping right into, like, directly after the battle of Irene just waking up Ghoul, because we learned that her, like, using that much power.
Yeah.
He just knocked out.
Which was a no-brainer.
I didn't even
he's surely not going to
again,
make
forgot
it.
about it. But it was just funny of, like, we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
He said he was the last thing he remembers, he was in the middle of fighting.
Uh-huh.
And then he just passed out.
Well, which was interesting, because I'm like, why wouldn't they have, I mean, Kale is a warrior, is a soldier, and he was going to stay.
Stop, yeah.
But also, like, he knew.
He knew that he was just going to pass out.
He knew. I don't know, just gone to safekeeping.
Taking a seat somewhere.
Because if you go further with it, it's like, if he passes out on the battlefield, someone could chop his head off, and then Irene's dead. So what does it all matter anyway?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But I mean, it worked out. But I'm just saying, like, it's a little strange.
So. But yeah, he should have been.
Think it through.
Yeah, it was odd. Yeah.
And wouldn't he wanted? Also, I mean, aside from Irene, wouldn't he want to be there to
protect her?
No, to protect Dorian. Most of all. Anyways,
yes.
This was a cute moment.
I know. I like that. What did he say? Erewhon might have been over, the threat, the army with it, Maeve with it too, but life, Kale realized, life was just beginning. Yay. Because of the babe in her belly.
Man.
I keep forgetting she's pregnant this whole time.
I know it's been 10 years of turmoil for all of them, but like for us, and this whole main conflict.
It's been there
just a year is pretty good. You know? And now they have the rest of their lives. It's so exciting.
I know.
They're all so young.
But guess who we see?
We get a little Nezzy Sartek moment.
Sartek. He instantly runs over to her and is like, "Are you hurt? Are you hurt?" He's like yelling at her. And he goes, "Do you know what victory means?" And she goes, "I hope to get some sleep." But he goes, "That we are going home. You are coming home with me." Yay! I love it. Basically, then this chapter just wraps up that Aelin, Rowan, Fenris, and Lorcan waited on the battlefield for as long as possible to make sure that the Morris soldiers didn't rise for any reason, just like zombies or something.
And I'm sure they couldn't believe it. They were probably like, "It's just like that."
Yeah, I didn't expect that. I didn't think it was like this one entity type of thing.
I knew that's how it would go.
Oh,
because that's what the whole point was of closing the gate. Was they defeat Erewhon, they defeat all of those soldiers.
So then why didn't that happen as soon as they closed the gate?
Because
Erewhon was still there.
Because Erewhon remained. Yeah, the whole thing was the queens were going to take Erewhon with them, but then they didn't. Okay.
But was it actually Erewhon, or was it Maeve? Because we didn't see the POV of everyone starting to fall until Maeve died.
I mean,
and with all of this, we see that Maeve's even stronger than Erewhon was.
Yeah, I guess. Oof.
And maybe because he's the one that like created all the word collars and rings and stuff, so like that's what controlled them.
Yeah.
Whatever. I just don't like Erewhon, even as a villain. Like,
he sucked.
But then they turn around. She still has their fire crowns on the two of their heads.
Of course.
And then they turn around, Lorcan and Fenris behind them, and they enter Orinth for the very first time.
Oh.
I'm coming home to the place
where I belong.
They did it.
It's such a, I mean, that's like the biggest moment for Aylin.
It's been how many books now? This is the one singular thing she's wanted.
And every other chapter, she's like, oh, I was so close. She's sure she's not going to get there. I was so
like
close.
10 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thought I'd at least see it one more time. Back when she was in the box, she was like, she got out and she was looking up at the stars. Well, close enough, I guess. You know, it's like constant. Like, and now she can. She's finally there. It's so exciting.
Know. I'm just happy we got one little Sartek paragraph.
Well, we get a little bit more in a bit, which is really good.
Yeah.
Which is really cute. And then in 117, poor Adian is kind of like, yeah, Adian was just sort of in, I mean, his continuous days of battle and just like fought until finally he sees this Val soldier slump down in front of him. He hears everyone cheering because the healer has defeated the big bad Erewhon, and all he does is just like turn from the battlements and just like walks to where they're holding Gavriel, and he sort of lays vigil with Gavriel for a while. And Lysandra joins him, and they sit there until he had lit a candle and vigil, and so candle sputters out and Lysandra, you know, takes him away. And Adian promises this grand burial with every piece of regalia they can find. And yeah, this is affecting him. Like, of course it was going to, but yeah, it's just that natural, like, instant regret. I'm sure he's replaying his past
he was so
recent
mean to
interactions
him.
with him. And like, is this how he in the afterworld is going to remember me and things like that. And it's super sad, but he has Lysandra in front of him and she's being, you know, she's reassuring him and they're together. And then Falcon appears. And this is a not necessarily a reunion, but a meeting that we've been looking forward to since Empire of Storms. Yes. Tower of Dawn.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well,
both.
Tandem.
And Falcon finally introduces himself as Lysandra's uncle. He offers her, you know, like...
I didn't know he was rich.
Yeah, he offers her, like, you know, all this stuff that he has. And, you know, he'll pass along everything to her. And she's just like, I already have everything I need. Adian. And it's so sweet.
They finally can just be together.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for these two.
Me
They're done
too.
fighting.
I know, it's just like everyone else, I guess, but I don't know, something really changed in Adian in this last book. He used to just, and it really started when Lysandra betrayed him at the end of Empire of Storms. He turned to this, like, he got really dark. Which, it is totally warranted, but, you know, he used to have such a spark of, like, he was just very sassy and kind of witty, and I hope he gets back to that. It's like Aelin, too. Like, I think the two of them.
They're finally together.
Yeah. So, hopeful for the future. And then we switch to Dorian. And he's going through it.
He is in the middle of a very rough moment.
He is like, oh my God. He has just learned that he is his father's namesake and the reason why he is his father's namesake. And
like, it's his hours later. Dorian
is
still sitting there.
He's been sitting there just pondering this news. And he's just looking at this dark stain that was Erewhon.
The stain?
Yeah, and he's just staring at it.
So funny.
And I love that it comes back later, too. And he finally takes Damaris and asks if he's human. And this is a little confusing because I know that it says that it warmed in his hand, but he says it again. And then it says the sword didn't answer again.
Because it knew that he didn't need...
Because it didn't need to say it again?
Because the second time...
The wording was weird.
Yeah, the second time he said it, it wasn't a question.
Okay.
It was just like a...
This was a letdown.
Statement. I was kind of hoping it was not fully human.
100%. She like, I love that he like sees Abraxas, like
He hears
the boom of the wings, and Abraxas lands, and Manon is there, and they do their greeting, and they do the hello witchling, hello princeling, and she's just like,
oh, he looks up.
a smile bloomed on his mouth. Oh yeah, and he looks beyond her, assuming the 13 were going to be with her, and she goes, "You will not see them in the sky or any other." Oh, it's gonna make me cry again. And yeah, and he's really sad about that. She says, "I miss them," and they hug and they embrace. I think these two have recently really had horrible things happen.
They're both really going through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like the emo twins.
Exactly. They're so emo, and I love them for it.
Oh, I did. Before she showed up, I liked when Doran was like really going through it. He had a moment of thinking about Erewhon and almost trying to rationalize
his way of thinking,
why he did what he did.
Yeah.
And he was just thinking of like, all he wanted was, he was trying to do it for his brothers. He just wanted to get back to his brothers.
And he was like, would I do this for Kale? Or even Holland?
I was going to say, but he said Kale twice within thinking of this. And both times it's before he even mentions his actual brother. And it just cracked me up. I was like, oh my God, these two.
In fact, I was surprised he even mentioned Holland.
I know, I forgot
so
about him. I just thought that was a funny thing that he was like almost trying to like understand this like weird creature's like.
And maybe that's what prompts him to ask the question.
He's like, oh wait, I shouldn't be thinking that.
Yeah. I must be like him.
Yeah. If she brings up one more fucking time Abraxas looking
at the.
She
I know.
said it at least 10 times at the end of this book. Why?
Abraxas he's never gonna be the same. Astrid, leave Nareen and take another.
Yeah, Astrid,
at least do that.
I know.
Dorian can have Nareen.
I know.
It only makes sense. It only would have made sense.
I know.
But Nareen would have never.
I don't care.
I mean, it had. Abraxas never would have done that to Manon. He would have never let her go alone. Okay. Bleh. Next part. So Aelin and Rowan are walking into Orinth. They're walking through the streets, and they come across Darrow, our favorite old man. They share some quips, but he ultimately recognizes her as queen. He calls her your majesty, and he clearly has Evangeline to thank. Evangeline like winks at Aelin like, you're welcome.
She like tugs on his shirt.
But this is a great moment.
I did not remember
that.
And
I did not remember this either. When way back when was this
when
the beginning
they drop
of Empire
her
of Storms?
off.
They leave her with Murtaugh and that whole crew. They leave Evangeline with them, and Aelin says, win me back my kingdom.
She was like just trying to give her like a job to like keep her busy and like keep her hopes up, but then she did it.
Does it. These characters, man.
I love it.
I know.
And she was so proud of herself. She was like,
I did it. It's so cool. It's so badass of her. I love it. It's such a great moment. Very exciting for Darrow to finally recognize her as queen. And then even more exciting than that, Aelin and Aedion finally reunite. She turns and sees him, and the hall goes quiet. She's just like racing and runs right into him, and she sees how downtrodden he is and apologizes because she knows about Gavriel now. He brings her to him. What do you want to say?
No, this next part.
What?
I for real thought we were about to have a resurrection on our hands.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And
because Aelin and Aedion takes her to Gavriel's body. She goes up to Gavriel and gives him the blood and is like, I'm going to give you the blood oath now, even though you're dead. Your blood sworn to me and shall be buried here as such. Luckily, she said those words because, I think back to Fenris, who at death's door was given the blood oath, and he was like rejuvenated basically. And so that's what I thought too. I was like, oh my God, she's going to be able to like bring people back from the dead now.
I thought it, yeah.
Which is not the case.
No, I got real disappointed like real fast. I like sat up and I was like, wait, because I thought this book, not downhill, but I thought the rest of the next 30 pages was just going to be, you know.
Tie-ups.
So I thought we were about to have a full-on resurrection. I was like, hold up.
I know.
There's no way.
Mm-hmm. That is not the case, but it is a sweet moment.
Yeah.
That I think was good for Adian to see as well. We all know the afterworld is very important to them, so Gabrielle will have that in the afterworld.
So when she leaves the cadre in there and they're all just like crying.
Yeah, I know.
She goes, I'm gonna leave you to it.
But yeah. And then we have the next couple pages are like my favorite pages ever. First sad. First very sad because Elide finally reunites with Manon, which I was excited about way back when, but now it's not so much because I mean Manon is just a totally different person right now. And so Elide immediately notices that something is wrong. And she asks Manon who. And Manon says, oh.
I can't do it.
All of the 13, all those fierce, brilliant witches gone. It's the worst thing that's ever happened. And then she says to Elide. And then she says, live, Elide, live. And then she just like vanishes. She's like completely haunted. Like she's just in a total daze. But then uptick because Elide and Lorcan.
The most perfect page I've ever seen in my life.
Was like page 939.
That's
oh my god. Lorcan and Elide. Oh my god, 939.
We have to take a picture of our cute notes about 939.
Because, I mean, it's nothing that we didn't know is already going to happen, but the way that it's written is just so juicy. I'm obsessed. So Lorcan and Elide are back together, and Elide, like, sees him, opens her arms, and he just, like, melts and, like, pulls her into him. And he's like, I hear you're to thank for Erewhon's destruction. And he has always known how crafty she is with her ideas and her cunning, and it's like it's her thoughtfulness that makes these things come to fruition, and he knows that she's the one who had the idea. They kiss, and this moment is like so I was like shook.
This was the moment. Yes, it's so sweet and perfect and I'm obsessed. But I also, at the very end of it, this is the moment I understood their relationship for the first time. Like, oh.
Yeah.
But
I can't. So they're like talking about the potential future. And Lorcan goes like, ask me to stay. And then he says, ask me to come to Paranth with you. Ask me to marry you. And it's just like, I mean, it's just, what is that ingredient of like, that makes this so yummy? Like, it's just so...
Because this is, like, the only thing he wants.
Yeah.
But he's not going to say it. He needs her to say it. But he's still being demanding about it at the same time.
And he's actually he's really, like, going for it here. And it's just so good.
I know.
And then they have a joke at the end because they're discussing marriage. And she says, you realize you'll be a lord of Paranth. And if you marry me, your name's going to be Lord Lorcan Lockin.
So good.
And he's like, great. All about it. It's just such a nice moment. And I'm obsessed with them.
He's so giddy around her. But that was the part that I loved so much because he swept her up in his arms again. And then, so this is when he says the thing about binding his life to her.
Yeah. I will bind my life to yours so we will never know a day apart, never be alone ever again.
And that's when I first got it of like these two characters have never had another person in their whole life. Like
friend, family, nothing. Yeah.
They have been alone.
Oh, like so good.
Brutally alone their whole lives. So yeah, at the end of that, of him declaring like, I want to bind my life to yours so neither of us are ever alone again. They're
the two where their only thing was like these entities guiding them.
And their entities were connected.
Yeah, and it's like, right, their entities were guiding them to each other.
And that's why they found each other in the woods.
And that's why they don't hear those entities anymore because now they have each other. It's just so good. Their jobs are done.
They're also dead.
True.
Oh my god.
Great chapter.
Page 939, dude.
Page 939 has changed lives. I know that it has. Next.
Chapter 118
Everything's
is
tired.
like the next days or so. We don't necessarily get exact timelines in these last chapters too much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Irene is kind of haunted by the creepy living creature thingy that she saw inside of Erewhon. But then we see Hafiza.
Mm-hmm.
Hafiza is alive.
Ooh,
She
this
goes,
is good.
I'm ordering you to find that dashing husband of yours and go to sleep on behalf of that child inside of your womb. So she's just commanding her to go get some rest because literally after saving everyone, she's still trying to heal people. And she finally did ask Irene, and she confirmed that she will not be returning with the healers when they all go back to the southern continent. Of course, she was sad, and like Irene feels bad. She goes, I'm so sorry. I don't want to disappoint you, like all of that. Then she does stop her before saying goodbye real quick, and Irene asked permission, pretty much, if she could establish her own Torah Chesme in the north when the time is right.
I loved this. I was hoping for something like this.
So she's going to open up her own healing academy.
She'll be the healer on high.
Yeah, so that's
she needed
really,
that.
I was going to say, so that's like the first indication that we have of someone's like next step, like
And
painting the future.
And she doesn't have to go back to Aniel, which is so great. It sounds like they're all going to go to Rifthold.
Yeah, they didn't say anything about Aniel in the wrap up of this book.
Because Dad's still alive,
Yeah.
so they're just going to leave him to it.
He stays there, that's true. We jump over to Manon is with Glennis, Petra, and Bronwyn. And Petra basically, she's just like, well, now what? And Glennis says, we go home. And that's when Manon is like, well, you and the Crokins are free to go whenever then, fine. But Glennis says home to the wastes together. And Petra is like, do you guys forget that, like, we can't?
Mm-hmm.
We're not allowed there. And Bronwyn goes, yes, you can.
Mm-hmm.
And she opens up her hand. And it's a flower.
A purple flower.
Where they all then remember, magically, the curse poem. What would you call that?
The curse.
Just the curse. The
chant.
saying. Yeah, the saying of the witch's curse.
Incantation.
When iron melts, when flowers spring from fields of blood, let the land be witness. I think there was others that they didn't necessarily include. And return home. Basically, what we come to learn is that what ended up happening when the 13 sacrificed themselves is that it was pretty much an exact reenactment of that phrase of the curse. And so they broke the curse when they did their sacrifice. So now all the Iron Teeth can go home with the Crokins to the wastes together. The curse is broken. We jump over to Aelin real quick. All the heal... What? I'm so sorry.
But what about when Manon takes the flower?
Oh, you're right.
It's my favorite part.
That she jumped onto Abraxas, and without further explanation, she leaps into the night with him, and they go to that terrible spot that Abraxas always stares at, where they sacrifice themselves. And even though she was sobbing, she started smiling through her tears and almost laughing in joy as she laid the flower that Bronwyn gave her. Oh, it's from the wastes, too. Oh, she laid the flower from the wastes upon the ground in thanks and in love, so Astrid would know, in the realm where she and her hunter and child walked hand in hand, that they had made it, and that they were all going to go home together.
Yes, because a fleet from the wastes had come in the last moments of the battle.
I didn't catch that the flower was from the wastes. I thought Bronwyn was just like giving her a flower.
No. Oh, this is just sort of
basically,
like
real quick. The healers kick Aelin out, even though she's trying to help, because they're like, no, go get some rest. So she starts wandering around the entire castle, Rowan just like behind her. And I said, they're cute, like still trying to joke with each other about the stain that Erewhon's death left. He was like, we'll put a rug over it.
I love that they're just like, hee hee, like.
I know. All done. But she mentions Fleetfoot.
I know. I was so happy. I was like, yay.
And I love her.
Is she though? She's with
Nazrin's family, I think. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she mentions like, oh, it'll be so nice for Fleetfoot to like be able to pee in the garden. And he says something of like, I don't know if your ancestors were necessarily thinking of that. And she goes, well, I would have. And I was like, I know. We love
know
you.
That girl. We know.
We love you. And then so while they're standing there chatting, just by coincidence, I guess, I don't really know, all of their friends find them.
It's their court.
I know,
like
but like how
because they're like,
oh wait, let's all meet up.
Yeah.
Coincidentally. So Lorcan, Alide, Adian, Lysandra, Fenris, and Ren all find Rowan and Aelin standing up on this like balcony. And Fenris now has some like wild scars on his face.
I know.
So that's sad.
I keep thinking he looks like in the cartoon of Beauty and the Beast when the Beast like shreds the portrait of himself.
That's perfect.
That's what Fenris looks like.
He does look like Prince Adam.
Yeah. Anyway.
Aelin and Lys, they're cracking jokes about Erewhon's death. She tells Lys, I think we're going to put a rug over it. They're all laughing.
What is this little bit that they're doing with their...
But all the guys were kind of like, whoa, y'all, like,
yeah,
literally just happened. Chill.
I
And
know.
Alide's kind of like giggling.
Yeah.
All the girls are just so funny. And that's when Lorcan goes, Gods help us. Ha 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 ha.
I
He's
know.
such a grumpy poo.
But then the women are the ones who are like, okay, let's actually get down to business.
That's what I was like, this part is insane. Well, Aelin looks over to Ren first, who's like kind of anxious because he was like, who are these people? But she offers him to stay and join their court.
Woo!
So they have another court member. But yeah, I said I love this part because Adian asks, as Aelin was talking, he goes, okay, well, what will not boring us entail exactly? And Aelin, Lysandra, and Alide are the ones to instantly answer and give like these like nice political,
diplomatic,
responsible answers. And all the guys are like, oh, huh. And she's like, do you not have anything to add? And all the guys just literally blink at them.
It's funny.
I was like, what the hell? And then also like not Fenris bringing up Vaughn.
I just forgot about Vaughn. Where was he? Like,
he just didn't
go to Skulls Bay from the jump. That's what I'm saying. Like, why didn't he go to Skulls Bay with Fenris and Gabriel?
Was he? I don't think he was even in Air of Fire. No,
he's the one who helped.
Was he not at that part? I don't know. I guess I won't ask more questions.
Yeah, let's we can make
Next
a note
week.
for next week. Yeah.
Yeah, so they mentioned Vaughn again, which is interesting because then at this point I'm like, why bring him up again?
Why now?
Side quest?
Yeah.
Is Vaughn going to be an ACOTAR?
Maybe. Ooh, that's an interesting theory.
Why bring him up?
Anything last minute or unanswered is like
ACOTAR. And ACOTAR. But that was odd. And then Aelin starts bringing up democracy.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yes.
And they were all like, what an interesting thought.
She's like, I liked when y'all voted for me to die.
Yeah.
Let's keep doing that.
And yeah, Lysandra's like, what the fuck are you talking about? But Fenris is going to be their emissary. And he's going to find the kingdom that Rowan is talking about. I heard once that they do that voting thing there.
It's very Lucian of him.
I know, but I was just a sweet next chapter that we get to know about Fenris.
Yeah,
totally.
totally.
Irene is going to be a mama, and then eventually.
Healer on high.
Yeah. Be her own healer queen.
Mm-hmm.
But now we know like Fenris's new responsibility. He's gonna travel a little bit, and
they all have a future.
He's gonna be an emissary because they want to learn about democracy.
Huzzah!
Rowan says, "We're gonna build you a royal theater, Aelin." And Aelin's like, "Have you forgotten that we're like kind of poor?" And he goes, "Nah. I'm actually rich now that Maeve is dead."
Woo!
Because I am Prince of Doranel.
She loved
and
that.
May I remind you, I get half of Maeve's riches, and you get the other half.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like,
oh, shit.
So they want to build a theater.
The Royal Theater.
And a huge library.
Awesome.
Anyway, Aylin's in lots of meetings before everyone starts taking off back to their lands.
Mm-hmm.
Ansel says props to Lysandra for shifting and pretending to be Aylin because no one noticed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when Prince Gallon officially gets to meet Aylin for the first time because he never actually met her.
Meetings on page 952.
And that's when Aylin was like, oh, actually, I did see you once from afar. And he goes, oh, I guess that's when your former career. And he's like, well, thanks for not murdering me.
Yeah.
She goes, you're welcome.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, he finally gets to meet his cousin.
Mm-hmm.
Aylin cracked a joke at Rolf. And Ansel laughed. That's all I got. So Rolf gave her a dirty look.
Love it.
They're flirty.
Yes.
She also mentions Elias
Mm-hmm.
real quick. And Aylin just asks, like, did you talk at all during this whole war? And Ansel answers for him and just goes, nah. And then at the very end, Aylin finds Manon because they haven't interacted again yet at all. And she just thanked her. And she apologized about the 13. And she told Manon that they're going to build a monument for them in the same exact spot that they fell. And then they just sat there together, which was very sweet. You know, there's nothing she could say, obviously, but she just sat there with her. And they, like, looked out.
Yep. It's
just
nice.
two queens.
Oh, so good.
Sad.
Manon, letting her shoulders curve inward, let her head bow, as she might never do with anyone else. And no one would understand the weight that they both bore. Oh, boy. Okay. And in chapter 119, it's Coronation Day! Yay!
So exciting.
And
the
so,
window is open, so
that door, I didn't know they did that anymore. So, here we
Anna
are.
also likes chocolate.
Exactly. It has been 10 days since, like, the days leading, of the aftermath from the battle. And they are getting ready for some big, exciting occasion. They're clearing the throne room, scrubbing the halls, getting the proper clothing, hanging garlands, and getting it all ready, including getting Rowan ready to be nice and princely. And so he's got like these new digs on. He's looking all good. And I don't know. It's like paragraphs of how everyone is dressed. It's like all their outfits. And
he did note that they will likely have 2 weddings by summer.
Yep. While Rowan is sort of standing there waiting for this, whatever ceremony it is, to happen, he's thinking about a conversation that he had with his cousins, Enda and Celine. And is it Celine that's now going to be Queen of Dornell? The Fairy Queen of the East to Aylin's Fairy Queen of the West. And the Whitethorn. So now the Whitethorn family will still rule, and Mora's line will be restored, which is very exciting for Dornell and the relationship that it has with Terrazin, obviously. And so that's exciting. And now the question is, the Fae who live here or from here, what are they going to do? Like, what's going to happen between these territories? What's going to happen to the Fae warriors who had come through the portals?
With the wolf tribes.
Yeah, with the wolf tribes. Where is everyone going to end up? Everyone's looking great. Irene and Nezrin, like, both, like, got all dressed up, have these nice dresses on, and then Manon is just sitting there in her in her riding leathers, just like, I don't care. And she's sitting between, her kind of like her replacements almost, Petra and Bronwyn. And I just love that they, like, won't leave her side, you know? Darrow's there. Everybody's there. Musicians are playing. And this processional starts. And it's almost like, I'm sort of thinking, are they, like, remarrying? Are they doing, like, this new wedding?
They never had, like, a wedding, yeah.
Because Elide comes out in this, like, pretty lilac dress. And then Lysandra comes out in a pretty purple dress.
And then I thought Evangeline was the flower girl.
And Evangeline is out. Same thing. And then finally, Aylin comes out in this, like, beautiful green and silver gown. And she's walking to her throne. So this is her coronation. This is just a whole page of her walking down the aisle.
She's, like, looking at her friends.
She gets down the aisle and faces Darrow, who begins this, like, that begins the ceremony asking her questions about her loyalties to Terrazin, and she swears these oaths, and he presents a new crown to her, and it's a crown with a bit of crystal that contains the soul bloom of King's Flame from Orlan's reign. And so he puts it on her head and says, "Rise, Aelin Ashriver Whitethorn Galathinius, Queen of Terrazin."
Yay.
And so he hails her queen, but then she's like, "Wait, I got one more thing to do before this is official." She turns to Aedion and says, and in our minds, it's like, it's about damn time.
It's your time, baby.
She's going to finally have Aedion swear the blood oath.
Yay.
Yay! And Aedion just like falls right to his knees. He's like, "Yes, finally!" Like, which is so funny after all this time.
Drinking the blood is just so weird.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot to ponder. But he does it gladly, very excitedly.
Yeah.
She goes, you said you wanted it to be in front of the whole world. Here you go." And then my favorite,
your best friend,
my besties, the little folk appear. And I like burst into tears, honestly, because I'm like, oh my God, they even showed up for her too.
They were so
like,
cute.
they came all the way to Terrazin and they're here for her. They're not just here to party. They brought Mab's crown with them. And so they present this to her because they're also crowning her officially the Fairy Queen of the West. And so she's just
everywhere.
Getting totally regaled here. And
now how does she fit 2 crowns? I don't really.
It's like the way it's described, it's like she had one behind the other, but I'm thinking it's got to be, I don't know. So anyway, she becomes the Queen of Terrazin and the Fairy Queen of the West.
She
officially.
finally did it.
She burned bright as a star. And this is like the best. This is probably must be my favorite moment of the whole series. And like this could have just been the end here, honestly. Like this moment right after the ceremony, but it does say that it's not done yet because she still has to sort of do this processional through the streets of Orinth.
Through the streets.
So they all rise and they're all making way for Aelin to walk past. She just says, "Oh, I want you all to walk with me, all of you." And she takes Irene's hand. She gathers Irene, Manon Blackbeak, Elide Locken, Lysandra Evangeline, Nezrin, Bort, Hassar, and Ansel of Briarcliff. And so all these women who have made up this entire series and who have been the true heroes of this whole series are walking side by side with Aelin in this like victorious final march together, and all the guys are behind them. All the dudes get to walk behind.
You know what? The only thing I could think of during this scene was in the moment in Princess Diaries 2.
Oh.
Where she takes all the little orphan girls.
Oh, God.
Because they're walking in the little parade and they're all just like waving.
I mean, yes, that accurate. Beautiful.
I
was bawling my eyes out.
This
is what
like the whole story is about.
Exactly.
Yeah. She did it. Can you believe? All right. Real quick, 120 is just 2 days later. It's a Nezrin POV talking about the coronation party and how magical it was. And Rowan ended up surprising Aelin and everyone with his magical like waltz steps.
Yes.
And Aelin was delighted.
I know.
Oh my God. And like it kind of made me like that part really made me giggle between the two of them of like because it throws me back to Throne of Glass or Crown of Midnight. Of like how much she loved those balls and the dances, and like that's originally why she loved Dorian, because he could dance and like she felt like a princess, and like so like for her to dance with Rowan for the first time at her coronation party and he was like really good at it, I was like, oh,
it's so good.
I'm so happy for her.
I know, that's so true.
And then so Sartak asks Dorian to join them real quick for a meeting. Because he asked Dorian if he is okay to house 24 Ruckin riders at the Farian Gap because they found wyvern eggs there. And they would like to stay in a Darlin territory, which is still like in the Farron Gap area, to stay and train these little baby wyverns. Mm-hmm. And Dorian said he would be honored.
I wonder why. But I also, side note, Dorian and Sartek, friends. Because that's what, it was friendship. And Nezrin, like, observes this. Friendship that had grown there, even in war. True friendship to last beyond the oceans that would separate them. It's so cute. I love it. Our 2 book boyfriends are friends.
I can't.
It's so sweet.
I hated this part when Dorian goes up to Nezrin and goes, I think I'm about to lose another captain of the guard.
I know. Because, again, it's a relationship that you sort of let fall to the wayside. You forget about.
That they've known each other.
Yep.
Yeah.
In a different time. Mm-hmm. And she was she was a different person.
So they hug and she says, I'm so sorry.
It is really nice, though.
Like he goes, no, not at all. I'm honored to have another friend as a queen. And then Sartek goes, Empress, actually. And she goes, ugh. Gross. We jump over to Ghoul. And he received a letter from his mama. Yeah. But he has not opened it. Mm-hmm. And Irene sees it and she goes, why haven't you opened this letter? And he says, not all of us are courageous enough to take on Dark Lords, trying to crack a joke. Mm-hmm. But it's actually just because he's really nervous. He hasn't talked to his mom in years. How old was he when he left? Like, in forever. And he thought for so long that his whole family hated him. Mm-hmm. So he hasn't opened it. So he has Irene read it first because he's so nervous.
God, these men. Yeah.
But then she was like, no, you should just read it. And it was a really lovely letter. It was, love you, miss you, blah, 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 blah. We would be honored if you would have us. Mm-hmm. So Ghoul jokes to Irene and he was like, I think we're going to need a bigger house.
Yep.
So he's going to get to live with his mama and his brother.
Yay! I love this little ending for him. So sweet.
Yeah. This part confuses me. Mm-hmm. Dorian went to go find Ghoul and Irene, and he asks them to come with him. Mm-hmm. Why did they need to be there for this? So then they follow him. Dorian goes up and eventually finds Manon. Mm-hmm. They're kind of chit-chatting for a second, and she goes, what do you want? And Dorian thinks, you. All of you.
It's not funny.
But doesn't say it.
Very upsetting.
Well, why didn't he say it?
Because it's leaving the door open for their future. It's going to happen. It's just all of this is very like cryptic and leaves so many doors open specifically for this story. Why wouldn't you just say that? You know? That's the thing.
I just don't really understand why he needed Ghoul and Irene to come with him for this. Was he like nervous?
Well, I think it's just official. I mean, the wyverns thing. The wyvern request would have something to do with Ghoul and, business stuff.
Yeah, so he mentions to Manon about the Ruckin Riders are staying because they found wyvern eggs, and he asks if she would come by often to help raise and train these wyverns. Mm-hmm. And then he says, or just to come by and say hello every once in a while.
Hello, Princeling.
My queen, Irene, I laughed so hard. She goes, you could just both marry each other. And everyone was stunned. Also, just because it would be a great tie-in for both of your territories.
An alliance, yeah.
And so neither of them really say anything, but they make eye contact. And then she just kind of smirks and says, we'll see. And she hops on Abraxas and flies away. And then Dorian stands at the edge and watches her fly away. And for the first time, he felt hope. And was excited for tomorrow.
Well, I'm not. I'm not excited for tomorrow.
When I read this, I was like, I cannot wait to hear how pissed off Hayley's going to be.
We'll see. I have a very short list of items that I will carry to my deathbed, having gone unresolved. And if this is one of them, be on that deathbed and think, I'm going to die without knowing what the rest of their story is, my life will have been wasted. And that's, I mean, yeah, they're added to the list. We'll see.
I know.
Nobody warned me about this.
It makes sense for their characters, though. And they're just two of the, like, they went through, besides Adian, Luz, and Gabrielle, like, they just went through a lot.
But it just feels, I hate that everyone else gets everything pretty neatly wrapped up.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway. This could be, I could talk about this for an hour. So 121 is just goodbye. Yeah.
Depressing.
Is a moment that Aelin has been dreading. She has to say goodbye. And it's been a week since the coronation. And everyone's just starting to gather to head back to their respective homes, which I guess we kind of forgot was going to be a thing that was going to happen eventually.
I know, why do they all have to separate?
And it's just like there are lots of sweet moments. Like she first says goodbye to Ansel and Ilias, and Falcon.
Falcon's gonna stay.
Just kidding. Falcon's gonna stay. So she's saying goodbye to the silent assassins and Galen and Ansel. And then
I was so happy to see that Falcon is staying.
I know. And Irene's crying because she's saying goodbye to all of the healers along with Hafisa. Nesrin and her family are now going back to the southern continent. In the end, everyone is parting ways, and all that's left are Dorian, Kale, and Irene. And they're the only ones who have yet to leave because the court obviously remains. That's a lot of them.
Their goodbye was so sweet.
And so, like, everyone, like, leaves Aelin and Dorian and Kale to say goodbye to each other. Oh, my God. And
well, you talk about Irene first before you cry.
what am I saying about Irene? Oh, no, this is sad, too. So, Irene is saying goodbye to Aelin. And she says, we're a long way from Inish. And so they have another sweet moment. And Aelin says, but we're lost no longer. And they've truly found themselves. They found where they're meant to be and who they're meant to be with. And Kale's crying watching this happen because he's been so excited for this reunion ever since he realized back on the boat who that note belonged to. And I think because of war and everything happening, Irene and Aelin didn't have a chance to really soak that in. So it's a nice moment. And then Kale's crying and Rowan says a quick goodbye to him, and
Rowan's awkward goodbye.
I know.
So funny.
He's such a brute. Like, he's hilarious. And so, anyway, Rowan steps back, and the court leaves Aelin to say goodbye to Dorian and Kale. And she just, looks at them and starts crying, and she says that she loves them both, and no matter what happens, that will never change. And Kale's like, all he can say is, we'll see each other again. And he says it twice or three times, and Dorian
couldn't say anything else.
I know. And Dorian says, we'll rebuild this world together. And she just says, thank you for all you've done for me. And I wish you every happiness, to Kale and Irene. And he just says, we'll see each other again. And then he and Dorian are heading back to Aderlin towards the kingdom to the south, shattered now, but not forever. Not forever.
I'm just happy we didn't have to deal with a Kale and Dorian goodbye.
Oh, yeah. I know.
I'm happy they will be together for the rest of their lives.
Me too. So then Aelin's just sort of quiet, and Rowan's with her. She's just like, oh, I just need a minute. We can start rebuilding this world tomorrow. Can I have some chocolate or something?
I'll bring you cake and chocolate so you can finish your wallowing.
Yep. And so Aelin and Rowan just have this sweet moment of they're grateful for each other. Obviously thrilled that they made it, and neither of them thought they would see this day. And they repeat their sayings to each other. He says, to whatever end, Fireheart. And that's the end of the series, besides this final epilogue chapter, A Better World.
I like that they all got Gabrielle tattoos.
Oh, yeah, that was really sweet. I know.
Even Adian got one.
I know.
Okay. A better world.
Mm-hmm.
It is now spring.
Yeah.
So the winter went by, so we can assume it's at least been 2-3 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of a scene of Aelin waking up and thinking on everyone rebuilding and a busy couple months it's been. And she reflects on how everyone's rebuilding, but none harder than Eelway. And she wrote a letter to Nehemiah's parents.
Yeah, I love this.
Just saying, well, we will rebuild together. I can't wait to meet you one day. And she also noted that everyone would be returning in 3 weeks for Adian and Lysandra's wedding.
Yay! Why didn't you just show it? And Lorcan and Elide are already married.
They're already married, yeah. He's already Lord Lorcan Locken.
Lord Lorcan Locken.
Fleetfoot's there, sleeping by the fire.
All
is right in the world. But she wakes up, and she doesn't know why she woke up so early. She was just called to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And she walks to the balcony, and now it's just about to be spring, so like the air is nice and fresh. And she's looking over all the mountains and the beautiful scenery, and she like gasps, and she wakes up Rowan. She goes, Rowan.
She whispers, and he's like, yes.
Literally like got ready so fast. I don't know how he did it. Rowan. He goes, she shows him, and literally everywhere over all of the mountains and throughout the whole plains that they can see from her balcony, the king's flame is starting to bloom.
Oh, it's so good.
I know. So the world is at peace.
It's such a beautiful. That's a
this
beautiful.
20-year-old saved the world.
20-year-old assassin fairy.
I wrote
fire breathing
the
bitch
end.
queen.
She is.
Aww.
The end. All done.
All done. Damn. Well.
Fan Ghoul questions of the week.
Fan Ghoul questions of the week.
Did you have a favorite character? Who is your
How do you
ultimate MVP? Well, no, not ultimate. That'll be all next week and everything.
Yeah. Of this set of this final set of chapters, our Fan Ghoul pick of the week, MVC most valuable character, mine probably Irene.
Mm-hmm.
For just laying it into Erewhon.
True. I was gonna say Irene for her call out of Dorian and Mana.
Also that.
Sartek for existing.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, she's ultimately is the one who did it.
She was sort of supposed to be a last resort, or just like a sort of half thought.
Yeah.
At the time, she didn't know anything about it, or
she didn't hesitate. Well,
is it a lie for thinking of it in the first place? No,
that's true.
But maybe that's that group.
Or how about Lorcan for the best page ever?
Ask me to stay. Like, what is it about that? All of them.
Everyone did such a great job.
Yeah.
Darrow.
Even Darrow.
You did it.
He admitted.
You got over your shit. He is the one that crowned her.
There's that.
The little folk.
The little folk, just for making another appearance. It just brings me so much joy. I love them. And Aelin for being the queen.
She did it.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Rowan broke out of Maeve's spell pretty quickly. There's just a lot there. Fenris got the
blow.
Mm-hmm. What about any gripes?
I wish we got more of a conclusion of Rolf and Ansel.
Oh, good one. That's a good one.
And overall, yes, we got a little bit Sartek, but it wasn't enough.
Definitely not enough.
What about you? Sorry for asking. I know.
I don't know. She's smart. Like, Sarah J Maas is smart. And I don't know how, like, there has to. I will not accept there not being something in the works here, because you can't write a character like Manon and not give her own story. Take us to the wastes. You made it. You put it in the map. Let's see it. I know. We can get a little more Ansel and Rolf. that's the whole thing. That's my theory, is like sprinkle a little bit more of their stories in. The silent assassins.
So that's your fangirl fantasy for the end of the book. Of like, obviously we can't fangirl fantasy what would come next in the book because there's nothing else. But your biggest fantasy, thinking of like the future for these characters, that's your fantasy.
Yeah, my fantasy is obviously that we're going to get that Manon and Dorian's story will expand somehow. Hey, if one of you could write the fanfic, I'm down. I'm down for it. Just don't make it
You said you wanted to write Manon and Dorian fanfic?
Yeah, maybe I'll do it.
It's your time.
Maybe I will. Okay, what's your fangirl fantasy?
I fantasize everyone getting back together again for the big royal wedding. And it's just
I know.
a grand old time. And everyone who hasn't gotten to see the southern continent before gets to go. And they get to see, because like...
Vacation.
Yeah. That's all.
I love that. A little vacation novella.
Yeah.
We just don't want it to be over is all.
I know.
We just don't really want... I mean... And this is what we'll talk about next week when we kind of surmise our thoughts on this series as a whole and how it may tie into what we've already read from the ACOTAR series. I hope that there might be some possibilities there.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine there aren't. I'm excited to talk next week.
I know, we gotta get some notes together.
Yeah. Anyway, well, thank you for following along with us as we've read through this massive book.
Oh my God.
It was joyful, seldomly joyful. It was pretty depressing at points. It was victorious in others. And we got some incredible reunions. I just couldn't love it more. So on that note...
Oh no.
It's okay. We'll have more opportunities.
Okay.
This meeting of the Fan Ghouls Club is adjourned.
I missed the book.
You missed the book? Some things never change.
It was just too sad.
I know.
Bye.